So we know that Microsoft Access 2013 is going to be our database tool for storing organized information. To take things out a little bit further, Access 2013 is classed as a Relational Database Management System, RDMS. What is a Relational Database Management System? Well, it's a database that contains more than one table. Those tables have to have some kind of relationship, and that will then make this a relational database. You will find that within any relational database, you have some tables that are classed as parent tables and some tables that are classed as child tables. And the relationship between them is usually one to many, one parent to many children. But why can't I just stay with Excel? That's what people ask. Why can't I just stay with Excel? I don't want to use Access. Well, you can, but what you can't do in Excel is create relational databases. We can store data, so we can store Excel data and call it a database. Here we have an example: first name, surname, child's name, and child's date of birth. However, when a second child comes along, we then have to restructure our Excel file by adding a second two columns, one for child 2, name, and one for child 2's date of birth. So therefore we can add Jimmy in to Fred Elliott, but those two cells remain empty for Mary and Oliver. Then when a third child comes along, we have to restructure again our Excel file and add in two more columns, child 3 and child 3's date of birth. But these cells that correspond to that same column but for two other records still remain empty because Mary and Oliver have not had a third child, nor have they had a second child. So you will find that you are constantly restructuring for related data as we have here. In a relational database, that is avoided by storing the directly related information, so in this case the first name, the surname, anything else to do directly with the person, in one table, giving each of our people a unique identifier, so that's their primary key, so in this case ID 123, and then storing all the children in a separate table, like so, where we see the child's name and the child's date of birth, but we don't have any gaps if people don't have any children. We only enter live children records here. To find out who is the parent for each of these children, we enter a new column called the parent, which is their ID, and that links through to the ID in the parents table. So the relationship between these two tables is parent to child, quite literally in this case, but it's a one-to-many relationship. So the ID for the parent will only ever appear once in the parents table, but could potentially appear many times in the children's table. It could also not appear at all. If people don't have any children, they'll have no entry in the children's table. So that's one reason for having multiple tables, but therefore requiring a relational database instead of a flat database like Excel. Now there is a second reason for using relational databases, and that is if we take an example of our data where you will have repeating values in a particular column. So in this particular case, we are talking about the department field in our customers table that repeats in its internal values. Now people aren't going to add in a second account, a third account, so we're not going to ever need to restructure this particular table, but there is a lot of repetition. A lot of people in the accounts department, a lot of people in warehousing, a lot of people in sales. And that's a lot of text values to be stored by the system. Instead of storing all these repeating values, we effectively extract them into a different table and then replace them with ID numbers. So if we see the two tables next to each other now, we have a single table that holds an ID and then the name of each department. So the name text value only appears once in the database. And then we link that ID to the ID used in our customers table. You might think that's time-consuming, extra effort, and not required, but you will find that electronic systems, Access included, can extract data using numeric values lots and lots and lots quicker than it can text values. And the numeric values use less memory space than a corresponding word value. So we only enter the word value once into the system, and then from then on, use the ID for that particular department wherever we need to see the department. You will see as we go on and produce an access system. That doesn't mean we have to know all these numbers inside out. We make use of the access system in forms and drop boxes to effectively hide the ID from any human interaction and just use the labels as we see them here. So accounts, warehouse, and sales. So in this case, there is a relationship between the department ID in the department table and the department field in the customers table. The one side, in this case, the parent side, is the department, and the child is the children's table. So this table at the moment is acting as a child to the department table. When you link it to the children's table, it acts as a parent. So you can have different relationships between different fields in different tables. So that gives us two reasons for needing a relational database system: to stop the restructuring of tables, and in this case, to remove the repetition of text values.